Previously in Part 2, Lin witnessed a proposal at the university and later informed Liu Wei that her paper needed corrections, and Liu Wei was left with the decision of whether to revise the paper or submit it as is. When Lin tried to explain to Zhao Weron, she asked him to speak slowly because she didn't understand a thing. Lin simply told her that he would directly make the changes for her. 2 hours later, he gave her the finished copy. Some King then entered the room and told Weron that Mr. Peng would scold her if she handed in the copy because it was nonsense. Liu Wei whispered to Weron that she could not rely on it because it was written by an errand boy. Lin suggested they take it to their teacher first. Weron went to Mr. Peng to hand in her copy, and he asked her if she really wanted to graduate since she was submitting her thesis late. He took the copy and started reading it. Mr. Peng did not believe that Weron had written it herself. Some Ding told Mr. Peng that Lin Yi was the one who wrote it. Mr. Peng was impressed with the way the dissertation was written because it was extremely valuable. Mr. Peng gave Lin Yi his contact information card so they could communicate in the future, and Weron added his VX for when she needs help with physics. As he was driving back, he received a phone call informing him that something had happened with the photolithography machine. He was also told that someone was secretly sabotaging their subscription. Lin Yi realized that it could have been Cisco. He drove to Kyushu Pavilion, and then he received a new order to pick up a bookshelf. After that, he received a message that they would suspend his delivery because of bad ratings and that he should go to Boulevard for business training. In the villa with his brother, they discussed the photolithography machine orders. After that, Lin went to Lingen Building where he met Yuan and inquired about Xian Zhao's whereabouts. He told them that he wants to buy 1 billion terminal chips, so they should disguise themselves and go to Cisco to negotiate for him. He gave them his key to use his sports car when they agreed. Then he went to Boulevard and found lots of people wearing uniforms. The administrative assistant told them to follow her upstairs where she introduced them to the operations manager, Liu Shuang. Liu saw that Lin was not wearing his uniform and scolded him. Then he told all the people present to pay a 3,000 yuan deposit. The people were hesitant because the money was too much. The manager told them that they either pay or leave. Lin stood up from his chair, walked to the door, and told Shuang and Peng that he had recorded everything and was going to send it to the internet. The manager asked him to hand over the phone, but he refused, so they called security on him. While security was trying to take the phone, Ms. Ho entered the room wondering why Lin was at the company. The manager told Ms. Ho what Lin did and assured her that he would get it deleted. Ms. Ho told Liu Shuang and Duping that they were fired and ordered the security guard to take them to the personnel department. Lin explained to Ms. Ho that his access was blocked. Ms. Ho replied, telling Lin that he shouldn't have bothered making the trip by himself because unlocking the access is a matter of words since she hasn't resigned yet. As she was going to hand in the resignation letter, Shuang saw her and told her that it wasn't necessary to supervise their resignation. Ms. Ho asked another female worker whether the paperwork was done. She replied and then Ms. Ho gave her resignation letter to her. They were all surprised when she told them that she was resigning. But she told Shuang and Peng that they would resign too. She walked away, leaving them wondering who they had offended. When she walked outside, she saw Mr. Lin about to get in his car. She went over to him and asked him to delete the recording. Lin told her that he was just fooling them, and he did not record anything. She walked away, and Lin got in his car. The system lady congratulated Lin for changing the survival conditions of the bottom staff, rewarding him with 2 billion and an early end of his career completion. His new career package arrived, 1,000 million RMB, 1 set of alloy scalpel, and a new career as a clinician. Lin was ecstatic. He went to Uncle Kong's house for fried rice. Xiao greeted Lin, and he placed an order. While waiting, he asked Xiao if she had any university in mind. She told him she wants to go to Fudan to study medicine. Lin told her that when she gets into a university, he will buy her a phone and a computer. His food arrived, and he started eating. Then, his ex-girlfriend, Sis, and her friend arrived. She asked Lin what he was doing at the restaurant, and she sat next to him, clinging to his hand, begging him to get back together with her. Lin told Sis to get out, but she insisted on getting back together, and said it was not because of his money. Lin pointed to the table and told her to collect the garbage. While she was doing that, Lin told them that he was leaving. Sissy stopped wiping the tables and turned to Lin, asking if she could go with him since she had never been in a limousine before. But he left her walking to his car. He found his motorcycle parked beside the car and left the car to take the bike. He went to pick up Qin Yan, and together they went to Yaluo Design Company. When Ms. Ji was being introduced to Mr. Chu Doi, the head of Delphic in the Asia-Pacific region, Lin stood behind her with his helmet on. Ms. Jia refused to shake Doi's hand, which made him furious. He told her that even if the project manager, Mr. Lin, had come, he would have given him face. Lin asked Doi whether he was worthy of his face while still wearing his helmet. Doi angrily called a driver and asked if he knew who he was. Lin removed his helmet, and a lady beside them gasped, saying Mr. Lin's name. Doi asked the lady if he was Mr. Lin. The lady confirmed it, and Doi apologized. But Lin told him that he no longer needed him, and that he would switch to another equipment dealer. Doi left, and Ms. Jai told Lin to go to the meeting with him. But he told her that he had some other issues to attend to. When he was about to start his bike, his brother called him and told him that he was almost done with his business trip, and he was on the Cisco side. He suggested that they should have dinner together. Lin arrived at the location and found his brother talking with the Cisco marketing manager, Yan Hongyu. Then he walked to Lin and told him that Cisco had changed the second delivery, and it would take 6 months. Lin gave him his helmet, and once they took off, Lin told him that he would take him out to the sea for a spin. Yuan and Chi went to Cisco to do what Lin had asked them. They were introduced to Gun Jiming, the vice chairman, and Liu Chu, the director of Cisco Research Institute. They went to the conference room, and Jiming told Liu to introduce the patents held by their chip to them. While Liu was explaining, Chi asked whether the 24 patent technologies mentioned were in their company's hands. She then offered to show him the reports. He told them he just wanted to make sure that their chip technology was the best in the country. They assured him that they were the best. Upon hearing that, Chi told them to add a chip agreement to the contract. They hesitated, so Chi and Yuan were about to leave when they agreed and signed the contracts. They went back and gave Lin the documents. Their mission was completed successfully. Then, she received a call, and he told Lin that it was Cisco saying they needed the payment since they had signed the contract. Lin agreed to pay the money and explained to Yuan, who was asking questions, why he was doing that. Then he left for dinner after telling them to keep an eye on their financing. Lin stopped at a traffic light, and an old lady bumped her scooter into his motorcycle and started screaming that Lin should compensate her so she could go for a checkup. The traffic officer asked what was going on, and the lady explained. The officer looked at the footage and told the lady that she was the one who bumped into Lin. The lady called her rich son, Duke Sachong, an experimenter at Longson Research. When the son arrived, he recognized Lin as his boss. The lady apologized, and Lin offered to pay them so she could get checked for injuries. They went to Sachong's car, and Lin saw his car and began to wonder how a little researcher could be driving a luxurious car. Lin arrived at the Longsing Institution. They were discussing the photolithography machine when Sun told him that they refused to cooperate. He suggested that they make their own, and he would send $1 billion to Sun. Then he asked about Sachong, and they told him that he was a good man. Then he went to Long Yu Group and found Yan already there with Yuan. He asked her why she was there, and she told him that she wanted to give Yuan some advice on the company management system. He offered to make her dinner, then asked Yuan to update him on the project. When she was explaining, his phone rang. Ruku asked Lin to fill in for a student who got sick, and they were having a performance. At Shanghai Theater, Wang Yixtua asked Ms. Go what would happen if King didn't show up. She told him that she had already found an errand boy to fill in for him. Then Xian appeared, telling Go that her husband had bought a Range Rover. Lin arrived and told Go to get in the car. He asked about her son, and she replied. Then she told him that the performance was an exchange show with foreign countries. They arrived at the venue, and she showed him the piano so he could warm up and left. When Peng Fei heard that an errand boy was filling in for Go Jane, he started insulting Lin, saying that he didn't know how to play and would destroy the recital. He also said that he couldn't be compared to EX1 because she had been playing since she was 5, and at that age, he never had a piano. Then, Lin and Suan went to the pianos to play as they challenged each other. Lin started playing, and the people were shocked to hear that he was playing a super difficult tune while holding the phone with one hand. Ms. Gu came back when Lin was playing. Meanwhile, Gu's colleague, Shi Yan, was listening to their conversation. She figured she could switch Lin to make Gu lose, assuming Lin could only play the guitar. She went to Lin and lied, telling him that they were short of cellists and that he should fill in. They sat in their positions, but Gu panicked when she saw that Lin was not behind the piano. Peng Fei asked Lin why he was playing a cello. Lin explained what the lady had told him, and Peng Fei told him that all the cellists were present. Meanwhile, a host announced that the symphony was about to begin, and Go was thinking about changing Lin's position. He started playing the cello, and he was good. The general manager of Boyuan Media, Hung Winnie, told Ban Wen to sign him up. Ban Wen stared at Lin, wondering why he looked familiar. After he finished playing, people couldn't stop praising Lin. Then he explained to Gu that the deal matter was arranged by Shi Yan. While walking out, Lin met Yang, who offered him money to follow her. She wanted to take Lin to train in their company. Lin told her that the money was not even enough to repair his car. She was about to start insulting him when Ban Wen held her back, telling her that Lin is rich. She apologized. Then he went to Lingyu to discuss Cisco with Yuan and Qi. After that, he called Yan, telling her that he had a profitable deal. She asked what the deal was, and he explained. While he was still at Lingyun, Shou King called him to go to the fried rice stand. Something happened to her parents. He arrived and found her crying. She explained that her parents were taken to the hospital due to the beating they received from the thugs who were hired by the owner of the bar across the street. He called Tin to help him with the Hurricane Club. The police arrived, and he told Shou to go and check on her parents. Lin was walking in the bar when he met Liu Yingxi, who was sent by Qin. He told him not to go in because his life is in danger, but Lin went inside anyway. He found people laughing and discussing the school drill at the fried rice stand. Song Wenlong, the leader, saw Lin and asked him who he was. Lin told him that if they bully the people at the fried rice stand again, he would make it impossible for him to keep the bar open. Wenlong asked if Lin was the girl's boyfriend. He didn't realize that she was so innocent and troubled. Lin picked up a bottle and smashed it on his head. His goons were about to attack Lin, but Yingxi tried to stop them, yet they didn't listen and lunged at him. He kicked one of them, then told his goons to hold Lin, but Qin Han arrived and started apologizing. When he was about to punish them, Lin told Han to let them go. They walked out of the bar together, and, as they were parting ways, Lin received a message from Yan saying he should go to her office tomorrow. The next day at noon, Lin went to the office and prepared delicious meals for her. She was worried about her weight, but Lai told her to exercise before she eats. They were about to kiss when Yuan walked in on them. Then, Fan told her that they should get down to business and talk about the investment. She informed them that the procedures on Lingyun had been completed and would start operation in the near future, and the interview would start tomorrow. Lin told her to keep an eye on the matter, and then he would give $1 billion to the orphanage. But Kim Yan told him that they should focus on the Lingyun group and the foundation as a supplement. Then Yuan told them that Cisco's financing was very smooth, and they didn't suspect Kim Yan's investment. Lin asked for any other movement, and she told him that they had expanded the plants and bought new equipment, and Sang Yu was the chairman. She also informed him that experts said Cisco's chip technology was already the highest level in the field of chips in China, so their compensation clause may not be realized. Kim Yan agreed with Yuan, saying that their people engaged in scientific research at Cisco, and he didn't match them. Lin told them not to worry. Then Yan told Lin to escort her to pick up a dress she had ordered. He asked her where she was going to wear it, and she told him about the charity event, and his foundation had been established. They'd arrived at the clothing store, and Qin Yan tried on the dress and was showing it to Lin. Another lady offered to pay 20% more to have the dress, but Lin told her to get out of their way. The lady angrily walked back to her car. When superstar Liu Fangfei asked her what got her angry, she explained what went down, and Fangfei told her that she could also be stunning without the dress, so no need to get angry. Meanwhile, Qin Yan was trying on earrings. The next day at Yunlin Hotel, Fangfei was walking on the red carpet, and the lady trailed her while people took photos of her. The lady told her to go inside because Qin Han had already arrived. While they were about to enter the hotel, Lin and Yan arrived, but Lin refused to walk on the red carpet, saying he would go through the back. When Yan stepped on the red carpet, the cameraman took many photos of her and complimented her beauty, which made Fangfei furious. She asked the lady who Yan was, and the lady told her that she's the same woman from the clothing store. She stopped Yan as she was about to enter her hotel room to humiliate her. She called security, saying they shouldn't have allowed her to enter, and she didn't want to be in the same frame as her because she would bring the party down. And if they allowed her in, the party would be without her. The security guard told Fangfei to leave since she didn't want to be in the same frame as Yan. She was shocked. She told the security guards that she's a superstar, so they should not kick her out. The security guards told her that Yan is the president of the Sunrise Group. Fang started sweating, and the lady apologized for her. They entered the hotel atrium, and Lin met with Qin Han, and he boasted about the girl he brought. Then he asked Lin if he wanted to go to the club and get a card with him, but Lin said no. Then he met Ms. Guo. She told him she is the vice president of Shanghai Culture and Sports Association, which is why she was invited. Then she told him that she wouldn't talk with him long because she came with her husband. After she left, he received a message from Yan saying she met her friends on the second floor. Then Fang Fei saw Lin and asked the lady. She told her he was with Yan, so she set out to humiliate him. She tried to pour a drink on him, but Lin saw it coming and moved on time. She tripped on her feet and fell. A man helped Fang get on her feet. Then she accused Lin of tripping her. The man ordered Lin to apologize, but then Qin Han walked towards them. When Fang Fei saw him, she rushed to explain to him what happened. Qin Han told them that Lin is his brother, and if they mess with him, they won't stay in Shanghai. They apologized and ran. Then they went upstairs, and they parted ways. Lin heard the founder of Hong Foundation, Zheng Yan Zhao, telling his assistant to clear out the people so he could propose to Yan. Lin refused to leave, and Zhao offered him money. He denied it, saying it wasn't enough. Then Zhao offered him 100,000 for 10 minutes to buy his way out. Mr. Zhao gave Lin the check, and then Lin walked towards Yan and held her by the waist. She said goodbyes to her friends Zheng and Xiao and walked out, going to the first floor with Lin, leaving Mr. Zhao and his assistant's mouths agape. Then Zhao promised to fix Lin up when he gets a chance for making a fool out of him. The host announced that the charity event had begun, and they were on the dance floor while Zhao watched them in anger. While still on the dance floor, Lin received a call from Lai, telling him to cover his class because he had been hospitalized with acute appendicitis, and he didn't want his salary to be deducted. The next day, the students welcomed Lin, and the excitement was evident on their faces. At the pool area, a foreign male student was asking his friend named George if he was going to take Chinese class. George told him that he's not going because his goddess is coming soon, so he will be there for her. Then, Lin walked into the pool area with the students. Lin was wondering who the people in the pool were, and Wang told him that they were international students. Then George introduced himself to Wang and said he wanted to be friends. Lin angrily told them that students were not allowed to enter the pool area privately. George told Lin that he was a foreign exchange student, so they must swim because Taurians would die if they didn't swim in ice. Then he continued to woo Wang, who hid behind Lin. George started yelling for them to beat them if they can, and his friends joined him in insulting their kung fu. Lin kicked George and sent him flying into the pool. He got out of the pool and peed in it together with his friends. When they were done, George told Lin to continue his lesson and was about to walk out, but Lin told them that they would leave the pool area after drinking the pool water. He threatened to tell the principal about the kick and get him expelled. Lin slapped him, saying a kick is not enough to sue him. He's going to give him more. His friends went to attack Lin, but he beat them too, while Lin's students were cheering him on. Some of the foreign students ran out of the pool area screaming for help. Lin walked up to George and grabbed him by the hair. He dragged him to the pool and plunged his head in the water, making him drink it. Then he looked at George's friends and asked them if they wanted him to do it to them too. They crawled to the pool and drank the water. Suddenly, the executive vice president of the university, Mr. Fang Zedong, walked into the pool area and asked what was going on. George told Mr. Fang that he wanted to sue Lin, and Fang asked Lin if he wanted to start an international dispute with the foreign students. Lin replied, saying that Fang had not figured out who deals with whom. Mr. Fang took Lin to the principal's office, and he told the principal to deal with Lin for beating a student teacher. Lin told the principal what the students did, and the principal told Fang that Lin was the honorary vice principal of the university, so he was given a suspension. On his way out of the office, Wang gave Lin a medical kit. She helped him wrap his wounded knuckle, and then they parted ways. Qin Han called Lin to have drinks with him at the metropolis. He arrived and remembered he had promised to buy him cards. He bought the Imperial Package card, the most expensive one. Then he went to meet Han, and he was introduced to Jinming and Go Zhongyuan. They shook hands and sat on the couch. He gave the cards to Han. Then a waitress offered them wine and fruitcakes. She gasped when she saw Lin and asked him what he was doing there. Lin looked angry and had asked him if they knew each other. He explained to him that he had just taught her as a substitute teacher at the teacher's college, and then he glared at her. Qin Han told her to sit and drink with them, 10,000 yuan per glass. She told him that she doesn't drink. Then Lin asked her why she was working at the bar if she doesn't drink. She accepted and started drinking. After 2 drinks, she threw up, and then Han gave her money and told her to leave, saying that was her limit. She left, and then Lin told Han to send someone to trail her, so that she doesn't get in trouble. He sent Yingxi. Sometime later, Lin's phone rang and told him outside because there was trouble. When Han was about to go with him, he told him to stay and continue drinking. He went outside and saw Yingxi holding Wang. Lin asked what was going on as he saw that they were surrounded by people. Yingxi explained that when he exited the building, he met the people trying to take Miss Wang away. Lin turned to the people and asked them what the matter was. One of the hooligans spoke, saying they wanted to take her because she was the #1 girl at Metropolis, and she had promised to have drinks with them later in their room. He said they were Song Wenha's men. Lin told him to call Song to come. If he accepted to come, he would give them the girl. The man refused and folded his arms, attempting to take the girl, but Yingxi lunged at him with a dagger and stabbed him in the thigh. His fellow Gumans grabbed their weapons, preparing to lunge at them, but Yingxi threatened them and told them to go and call Wenha. Wenha arrived and apologized to Lin for their behavior. Lin told him to take care of his boys, and he didn't want to see them again. He took Wang to the Peninsula Hotel. She told Lin that she wanted to go home, but he told her that her family would be worried if they saw her in that condition. She started crying and told Lin that her mom was bedridden and needed surgery for a heart attack, and her father was dead, so she had to make money to pay for her surgery. She and her grandmother talked about selling their house. Lin asked her how much the house cost. Lin sent someone to go tell the manager to give him 500,000 in cash. The guy brought the money, and Lin gave it to Wang to get her mom treated. She thanked him and told him that she had nothing to repay him with. He told her not to worry about paying him back. Then her phone rang, and her grandmother told her to come home because her aunt and uncle had arrived. Lin heard this and offered to drive her home. They arrived at Shuguang District and got out of the car. Lin told her not to worry about her mom because he had contacted the best hospital, and they would come to pick her up. The minute they walked into her apartment, her relatives figured out that Lin was rich by the clothes he was wearing, so they started asking her about the money they had borrowed from her. Wang started crying while asking them about the amount of money her father had given them while he was alive. They told her that they didn't care about what she wanted, they just wanted their money back. Lin told her to give them the money. She put the briefcase on the floor, opened it, and took out 10,000 yuan to give to them. She chased them out of the apartment. Then her grandmother asked her where she got the money from. Lin explained that he gave it to her, and she would pay him back by working in his company. The ambulance arrived, and they took her to the hospital. Then, Lin went to meet with Sum and Ying. She handed Lin the file and explained that they tapped a total of 32 experts in the field of chips and lithography. Lin dropped the file and asked to know the other skills of the 5 people who had been in the business for years. Ying told him that they do not want their skills to be acquired by their connections. Parts for photolithography need to work with the best in each segment. He asked when the project would start, and she told him that there is a key person that Her and Sun have not met yet. She handed him the file when he asked who the person was. Lin read that it's VR's vice president, world-class computer Shentian Zhao, and he told them that they need to find the guy and take him down. Sun told him that the person is important to their development of lithography. Then he offered to go to M with Xiao Lu. Lin told them to forget about Shentian Zhao. Then he received a phone call to go to Lingyan. He went and Yuan and Qi gave him a letter that summons him to court. Qi told him that Tan Hong is the one who's suing them, and the trial will be held tomorrow. Lin remembered that the Tan Hong Foundation organized the charity dinner, so it could be Zhao taking revenge. When Xiao asked what they needed to prepare for, he told her to wear a black short skirt, because she would be his cheerleader. Then he took out his phone and showed her the information on Shantan Zhao and told her to check him out. Afterwards, he went to Yan's workplace. When the receptionist tried to stop him, he told her that he wanted to surprise Yan. He walked into her office and found her doing yoga. He offered to massage her and told her to lie on the couch. He poured lavender-scented oil on her and started massaging her back. After the massage, Lin held Yan in his arms as they sat on the couch. He told her that he would like to take her to him country, and she was ecstatic, standing up and saying she would book the flight tickets in advance. Then Lin left, telling her that he was going to see one of his students at the hospital. He arrived at the hospital and found Ra's uncle and aunt surrounding her mother's bed. One of the uncles introduced Wang Ta, his daughter, to Lin, and Sun introduced her son. Lin asked Ra about her mother's condition, and she told him that the surgery was successful, but she would stay at the hospital for another week for observation. Then her aunt and uncle started to ask Ra for money, and they began arguing. Wang told them to knock it off because they were still in the hospital. Then they asked Lin to lend the money. He told them they should go talk about it outside. In the hallway, Lin told them that he's not going to take back the money he will give them, but they have to decide one person who he would give the money to. They started fighting, and Lin left them in the hallway and walked into the ward. Moments later, Wang's aunt and her son walked in telling Lin that the uncle left, so he should give her the money. Lin took a pen and paper and wrote an IOU. Then he told them to prepare a deed to the house. They gasped and left, and Lin said goodbye to Wang. The next day, Lin went to court. The moment he stepped out of the car, the journalists crowded him by throwing questions at him left and right. One of the journalists asked him if he admits to the allegations made by the Tinhong Fund. He replied happily that he admits to it. Another journalist asked him if it is true that he bought the sports car with the charity money. Lin replied that he did. Meanwhile, Zhao was telling the Hope Orphanage Director and Yan Chen, Saffron Orphanage Director, Mr. Gu Yuntel and Ms. Lai Sulan, not to be scared. He told them that they should just follow what they taught them to do. Then, he showed them 2 briefcases of money, saying it will all be theirs if they behave. Then, they went to the courtroom. The judge told the plaintiffs to start their lawsuit. Zhao's lawyer told the court that Lingyan did not publicize any of the aid materials, which is a violation of fund management regulations. The judge then asked the defendant if they admit to the lawsuit. Lin yelled that he is denying it. Then, they called the witnesses. Yuan recognized them and explained to the court that he sent 1.5 million to them, but they both denied it, saying they only sent 50,000. Yuan even told the court that he still had the receipts, but the judge told her to be quiet. Then the judge asked the defendants what they wanted to add. Lin told the court that the money he sends to the orphanage is not charity money. It is his money, so it doesn't need to be publicized. The court broke into murmurs, and the judge asked Lin if he was sure. When Lin assured them that it was indeed his money, the judge announced to the court that Lin did not violate anything. Therefore, they are letting him go. As they were walking out of the parking lot, Zhao stopped Lin and told Jack to go and bring Lin to him. Jack went to Lin, but when Lin did not make a move to follow him, Zhao told Jack to take Lin to his car. But as he was about to grab him, Lin caught Jack's hand and twisted it. He cried for Lin to let go of his hand while Zhao was just watching and sweating in fear. Jack was groaning in pain on the floor. Then, Lin told Zhao to come and get him. Zhao lied, saying that he still didn't feel well from the cold and didn't want to infect him. He ran away, leaving Jack behind. Lin then offered to drop Yuan off at her home since Chi came with his car. However, Yuan told Lin that she would go with Chi. She went to Chi's car and drove off. Lin got in his car, and as he was about to start driving, the system lady awarded Lin a sci-tech electronic equipment factory for cracking down on the shady orphanage. He immediately looked it up on the internet and found that it was a chip company that was on the verge of bankruptcy. Then the president of the company called Lin to go to the company to do the handover procedure. Lin told him to send the address so that he could send someone to do it. He arrived at the sci-tech building and found Ying waiting for him. He told her to go and do the paperwork for him, and then they went to this sci-tech factory, where Cisco's factory is located. As they were looking around, a worker asked them what they were doing. Ying showed the man their work ID cards, and he let them into the factory. They walked around, inspecting the place and equipment. Then they walked out of the factory. As they were about to turn the corner, Lin quickly grabbed Ying, and they hid behind a wall. She asked him what he had seen, and Lin told her that he saw a car parked in front of Cisco just now, and it was running towards them. He fished out his phone and texted Yuan the details of the car to help him check it out. They got into Lin's car and drove off. Lin went to Kyushu Pavilion and found Yan with a bowl and a cooking spoon in her hand. He asked her what she was doing, and she told him that she was preparing ginseng soup for him. Then he received a call from Yuan, telling him that the car belonged to Kyo Sanju. He hung up, and Yan asked Lin why he was so surprised after the call. He explained to her that he had just acquired a sci-tech company, and he went to check it out. He ran into Kyo Sanju, the son of Cisco's boss. She told him that maybe he was there to be proactive and seek cooperation to consolidate his position in the company. Then, he gave her the bowl of ginseng. Then he received a call informing him that Sanju had phoned them and seemed to have the intention of cooperation. Lin and Yan were ecstatic when they heard the news. The next day, Lin and Yan were at the airport, and they met with Mr. Zhao. Lin mocked him about losing at the court the other day and thanked him for the 50,000 he gave him, saying it improved their lives. Mr. Zhao walked away fuming in anger, and he told his assistant to call the airport manager and tell him not to allow them to board the plane. When they went to the ticket checking point, the female worker told them that their tickets had some problems. Joe walked past them with a smirk on his face, making fun of them, saying they wouldn't be able to board the plane. Lin told him that if he wasn't on the flight, it would not take off. Zhao smirked, looking at him, and said that he was out of his mind for thinking that the flight would not take off without him. Then, they announced that the flight would be delayed for 20 minutes. Zhao said it's normal for flights to be late. 20 minutes later, Zhou walked past Lin, saying hi and going to board the plane. But the announcement came again that the flight might not depart on time, and they should wait for further notice. Zhao was furious, and people started blaming him and told him to apologize. Then Liang Jiming arrived and introduced himself as the general manager of the home airlines. He told Zhou to apologize to Lin immediately. Lin and his assistant took their bags and ran out of the airport. They arrived in Country M and stayed at the Castle Hotel. The following morning, they went to bed together. The next day, they went to the amusement park. Yan wanted to see the tigers, and they met a couple trying to feed the coyotes. Yan told them that it was prohibited. The lady named Wang Zi told Yan that she can do what she wants, and it's not her home anyway. Lin then told Yan not to care about them because the wolves are protected by the law, and they could go to jail for killing it by feeding it. The couple gasped and walked away. As they were wandering around, Yan saw the wooden horses and said she wanted to ride it, but the line was too long. Lin told her to rest while he went to buy the tickets. When it was his turn, he asked the sales lady if the VIP tickets have a limit. She told him the price and said that it can only be played once, and the person on his back insulted Lin. However, Lin bought all the VIP tickets. While they were riding the horse, Yan wanted to keep riding because she was having fun. Then, Yan told Lin that she was feeling peckish and they should go eat. While they were eating, Yan asked Lin to get her another vanilla souffle. He went, and while waiting, the couple came again. Zi told Lin that the souffle was limited to members, and Junyi told Lin that it was a shame that he didn't lead the logos, and then he insulted him. Lin told them that he bought VIP tickets for each of them. The couple was shocked. Lin went back to the table, and Zi started boasting about her husband's companies. The husband told Lin that Zhonghan Capital invested in his company. Lin spat out his juice, surprised that a Chinese hand capital gave him so much strength, and he asked if Qin Han is his ancestor. Junyi informed them that Ling Yun Capital was about to invest in him, but he believed they wouldn't understand his market position. Zi asked her husband why he was talking so much to someone like Junyi. Lin took out his phone and asked Junyi the name of the person who invested in his company, wondering if it was Yuan or Qi. He then called Qi and inquired if he knew Junyi, to which Qi confirmed that he did. Lin told him to withdraw his investment, and Junyi heard Qi's voice and started apologizing. Zi advised Junyi not to apologize, saying that with his potential, many families would love to invest in him. Junyi became angry and blamed Zi, claiming that if Ling Lu pulled out, he wouldn't be able to get investments from anyone else. Yan and Lin left when their argument escalated, and it was already dark outside. Lin received a message from Yuan containing information about Shen Tanshu and called Guanyin to distract her from work on their vacation. The next morning, Lin found Yan getting ready and asked where she was going. She said she was meeting Guan to discuss the dock design. After Yan left, Lin prepared for work. Will the information Lin received about Shen Tianshu be beneficial or risky for him? Stay tuned to find out, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you want to see another part of this manhwa.